Welcome back, YouTube, to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now on today's episode, you can see I've got quite a mess here. So we've got an axle bar. Looks like we're going to probably deadlift that. Behind me, the circus dumbbell, which we'll probably put that overhead, if I'm guessing. Got a kettlebell and an ab mat. Probably going to do some weighted sit-ups. And I got that gate open, which probably means there's going to be some running. And that's going to be the strength giant set for the day. And I'm lucky because it's a very hazy and cloudy day today. So the temperature is perfect for me to work up a pretty good sweat. And as I'm doing that, I'm also going to go over whatever the title of this video is that I decided to talk about today. So let's pop into today's workout. Let's get started. Now for today's strength giant set, I'm going to be starting off with the circus dumbbell. And the idea is just to do the right arm and the left arm and to start off light during the strength portion. And then as I move through the workout, I'm going to be increasing that weight a whole lot more by the very end. So I'm going to keep it at 80 pounds as I'm going up in weight on the axle deadlift. And the idea is to do it in single deadlift format, where I completely let go of my brace and work up to a 3-rep max by the end of the strength portion. And then I'm also going to be doing some weighted ab mat sit-ups in between. I find this really does carry over a lot into squatting and into the deadlift. And I'm also going to be running 300 meters. I personally marked a spot and I'll just run there and run back. And it's going to be 300 meters total. And by the time I'm done running, by the end of the total workout for the day, it should be about 2 miles of accumulative running. And that's going to be the strength giant set for the day. So now I finally figured out what we're going to be talking about, and that's going to be the axle bar. Because a lot of people ask me, is it better than a barbell? Should they get that instead of a barbell? What's the overall benefits of using an axle bar? Is there something that it does that a barbell can't do? Or is it better to use a barbell because barbells are made to be lifted, and so you can overload the weight a lot better than you could an axle bar because it's just so darn thick? What are my thoughts about this? So I actually had this conversation with somebody recently in the gym. They were kind of mocking the axle bar, and I was doing a continental clean and press. And they thought that it was better to do a barbell because barbells are made to be lifted. Therefore, you should practice with a barbell because barbells are a better tool to use in order to get stronger. Well, real quickly, I shut him up because I asked him to deadlift it. Just deadlift it with an overhand grip. And at the weight that I was currently continental cleaning and pressing with, he was unable to deadlift it with the overhand grip. I think eventually he was able to get it just out of sheer anger. But again, it wasn't that much on the bar. And he was getting upset about it because it was only like 240 pounds. But the difference is I was able to get that up to my shoulders and press it over my head. And he struggled just to get it to his waist. But then the question begs to differ. Should you buy an axle bar or a barbell? Like if you can only make one purchase, which one would it be and why? In my opinion, it's best to have both of them because it's great to have variation lifts when you're training and makes it something different, which makes different fibers of your body have to work in order to calculate the best way to move that implement. So if you're transferring from the barbell to the axle and vice versa, it makes it a lot better of a stimulus to train to get both stronger and to build more muscle mass. And that's just my opinion. So now I'm actually coming up to my top set, which I've actually been doing this lately, like moving up to my top sets within 5 rounds because I usually do like 6 or 7. But for some reason I've been doing much bigger jumps lately. And I really don't know why I'm doing that, but it's been very effective. So I'm loading the axle bar up with 420 pounds. And I'm keeping that circus dumbbell light still, just making sure that I'm kind of just warming everything up because once I'm done with the strength giant set, then I'm going to be making that circus dumbbell a lot heavier. So this is going to be my top set right here, which is 420 pounds. And it's going to be in single deadlift format. With the axle bar, it is a lot harder to get it off the ground than a normal barbell. And the last time that I did this, it did not move as efficiently as I did this time around. Very happy with that. I was able to get into good, strong positions every single rep, and it moved very quickly. It still was heavy in the hands, don't get me wrong, but it moved a lot better than it did the last time. Last time I think I did 2 reps and I had to break it up for 1 rep. So That was nice. And I think it's because of how I constructed the giant set workout, which is the circus dumbbell, the weighted AMET sit-ups, and all of this running. Alrighty, so that went very well. Now I know that this looks like a lot of weight on the bar, and it is. I'm not trying to knock it down or anything like that. But for me, 420 pounds is how much this weighs. I know that the axle weighs less. These bumper plates look big, but they actually weigh less. So altogether, it's 420 pounds. And that's a good weight to lift. I'm not trying to knock that. But for me, being able to do that for 3 reps isn't that big of a deal. But I'll tell you what's my first time ever doing, and I've never been able to complete it before, is doing 420 pounds with the axle bar in single deadlift format. That was extremely hard. And I kind of cheated a little bit. I was able to keep my brace and my air at the top of the lift and then lowering it down and kind of holding it instead of completely letting go of my brace and starting over every single time. So that's probably the reason why I was able to do it this time, because completely letting go of my brace and resetting from the dead stop again is a lot harder than keeping your brace at the top and then being able to start over again but holding that brace. So now we're going to move on to the variation giant set. We're going to do some more with this axle bar, and we're also going to increase the weight on the circus dumbbell. So let's pop into that right now, see what we got going on. So now for the variation giant set, I'm going to completely strip off all those weights, which is a lot of work in of itself sometimes. I really miss my wagon wheels. It's a lot easier to do with wagon wheels. But now I'm actually going to add 20 pounds to the circus dumbbell. So it's going to be a 100-pound circus dumbbell now. So I did 80 for those 5 rounds. Now I'm going to do 3 rounds, and I'm going to maintain this weight the entire time for the variation giant set. So that's going to remain 100 pounds as I go up in weight on the axle bar. And I'm going to be doing a different kind of a movement, which really carries over into the squat, the deadlift, and to a lot of strongman movements. That is the deadlift to a Zercher squat. So I deadlift it to my knees, I get down low, get my arms underneath it, pick it up. It was a little wobbly, wasn't quite centered. And then I'm just going to do a 6 rep max of a Zercher squat style like this. And again, this just carries over into strongman movements like stones, but it also carries over into squats and to deadlifting. And I just continued in the same format as the strength giant set with the weighted AMET sit-ups and with the 300-meter run. So that didn't change at all. The only thing that's going to change is the Zercher squats and obviously the deadlift, which gets it up to the hips. And I'm also going to add more weight to the axle bar. So this is really cool because the axle bar is very thick. So if a barbell is sitting in the crook of your elbows when you're Zercher squatting, it is a lot easier in my opinion with the barbell because the barbell is thinner in diameter. So it kind of sits nice and evenly in that crook of your elbow. But with the axle bar, because it's a lot thicker in diameter, now it's actually pushing your forearms down towards the ground. So I have to be a lot more upright and a lot more stable when I'm doing the Zercher squat because that thing constantly wants to roll towards my wrists, which is bringing my arms down. So this is really getting a full body workout at this point. That's why I love doing Zercher squats. And when I'm doing stones or carries or anything like that, the Zercher squat definitely increases that, but it really also carries over into any kind of squat variation or deadlift. So that's why it's one of my favorite exercises to do because it really is the ultimate exercise when you want to lead into multiple things. And it's with the axle bar, which makes it a lot harder to do and a little bit more enjoyable though because it doesn't have any knurling on it. So this is going to be my top set. So this is going to be a 6 rep max of a deadlift to a Zercher squat. And 210 pounds, no problem if you're only going to do 1 rep. I think my max on this ever, and I'm doing all of this without a belt or anything like that, is 300 pounds. And that's my max without a belt. But doing this for reps really puts a lot of strain on your upper back, your legs, your core, and of course your biceps because you're holding it in that manner. So the fact that I was able to do those heavy deadlifts and all that accumulation of running and work and being able to do this without any equipment on, that's a very big deal. And that is what I really like to emphasize a lot more on because I do a lot of strongman movements. That's kind of the sport that I kind of chose to do. But I will tell you that during all those deadlifts and those Zercher squats, my legs were killing me on these runs. Alrighty, now the only thing that I'm really feeling right now is this right hamstring. It feels very tight and very knotted if I had to put an adjective on that. And I really only feel it when I'm doing the 300-meter run. Other than that, I really don't feel it when I'm doing any other movement. But unfortunately, because I'm trying to offset that hamstring because it feels weird when I'm running. It's making like my left knee and my right shin hurt because I'm compensating as I'm running. So not a good look, but we're still going to finish what we can. I'm going to do some mobility drills to try to see if I can get it loosened up so I can start using it when I'm running. And hopefully that will even out because I still need to finish these 300-meter runs if I want to reach my 2-mile mark at the end of this workout. So let's pop into the rest of the workout and let's finish strong. Now for the assistance giant set, we're stripping off all that weight again and starting over for the next movement. But I'm also going to be adding 20 more pounds again to the loadable circus dumbbell. So the idea is now I'm going to do 3 rounds and it's going to be maintained at 120 pounds. So this is going to be 6 reps total with 120 pounds, which is really awesome. Especially after all that work I've done already, this was perfect. I got a little mad. This was my first set here. And for the left arm, I just couldn't quite get it seated correctly. So I was like, dang it. And this actually made me really mad because as it sits there, I just wasn't able to hold it for a very long time. So I ended up having to abandon it. And trust me, I was really upset. But don't worry, I wasn't going to let it defeat me. And then I would move over to the axle bar, which now weighs the same much as the circus dumbbell. They're even. And I was doing some Pendlay rows with the axle bar just to kind of finish off my upper back and to work that grip a little bit more with that axle. And then I continued to do the ab mat sit up, but I actually took the weight away this time. So now I'm just doing a lot of reps of just straight ab mat sit ups to try to finish off my core. And I kept it in the same matter of running 300 meters. Just, you know, I was trying to work on my hamstring in between each set. So now I kind of decided, you know what? I'm going to go left arm first instead of right when I'm a little bit more energized. And that went very well. So I told you I wasn't going to let my left arm lose. I was like, okay, so now since it's a lot more heavier than what I anticipated it was going to be, I'm just going to now just start with the left arm every single round now. So that's what I did. And that actually turned out to be a really good move. As you see me like struggling to try to run because I'm just so tired. I would just hit my left arm first with the circus dumbbell instead of the right. Since I knew I could do it, I just had to get my mind right. And I usually rest between 90 seconds to 2 minutes before I start again. And that made all the difference on this. So there was 3 rounds of that, and I was able to hit it with the left arm again, which made me very happy. I did not want to go out like I did the first round. And by the time I was done with all of this, I was pretty pumped and excited, man. I was really tired. I was getting a really good workout, and I was able to finally cure that hamstring. I was kind of stretching it out and doing some mobility drills, trying to get that hamstring unknotted. So I was able to finish all the running. But on my very last round, my hamstring was feeling really good and my running was going very smoothly. So I was doing something right. I have to show you in another video how exactly I did that. And for the last and final thing, the accessory giant set, I'm stripping down that axle to the lowest weight here, which is going to be 80 pounds. And I was just finishing off my biceps with some axle curls. Again, you can do this with a barbell, which is tough, but the axle makes it a lot harder with that grip and really stimulates those biceps a lot more. And then I also ended with, of course, face pulls because I just absolutely love making sure my shoulders are healthy, and flutter kicks because flutter kicks really works that lower ab, so really finishes off the abs at the very end. And you can see just how useful the axle was in this workout. All right, so that concludes today's workout. And as I say so, the sun has finally shown itself. So now it's time to start the rest of the day. I have to go to work, unfortunately. So that's going to end it for today's workout and for your viewership. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you learned something new. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.